Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today on Beyond Real Estate with JalicK, where we strive to edutain. That is, educate a little and entertain more. Here we discuss topics surrounding dad life, brief discussion of the current hot topic in the real estate industry, and then end it all up with the business bookend. Before we start getting to know someone else just a little better.
Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Beyond Real Estate with JalicK. That is Nick Gumpert joining me as always. I'm Jalen, McKenna, Colorado's mortgage dad, and this week for dad, hashtag dad life, dad talk. I don't know why I drew a blank there, but we are talking AntiScreen Time, the thing that if you are watching this, you are currently taking part in. Don't feel bad. We're also looking at multiple screens at this exact second. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in front of me. So that's great for business to have multiple screens open, many reasons. But when it comes to our kids, there's definitely something that I think every parent, unless you are under a rock or you are literally just giving your kids rocks to play with, screen time has many benefits and many detractors. Today, we're going to talk about some anti-screen things that are going to be happening basically in any small town, any city, any metropolitan area throughout the country, just to give you a few ideas of what you can do with your kids versus just throwing them on a tablet or throwing them on a phone and watching Coco Melon or Baby Shark Pink Fong. Nick, are you familiar with any of these that I've thrown out so
Not yet.
far?
Not
Okay,
yet.
okay. These are all things that my 1.5-year-old has discovered. So the temptation just grows when they have videos that they actually enjoy watching now too. So Nick, what is something that you are looking forward to doing with Diego over in California?
Yep. Well, since we're moving into these spring months, I mean, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately for you, you have to wait for spring, but we really have spring all year round, right? That's the joke for Californians. So, but now that we are getting to where we are, the ocean becomes a little bit nicer to go to because the waters get a little bit warmer, right? With temperatures, we're in the upper 80s today and have been for the last couple of days. So that becomes a more popular destination the warmer we get. So it can see that in our future more and more. He's already got his first taste of it, dipped his toes in some frigid Pacific waters there last month. But for sure, as the spring months come in, we'll be finding different beaches to go to. And then we have some nice walking areas that we've done a couple of different botanic gardens that are great, just walkable, large parks, for lack of a better term, that you can just kind of meander your way through and see different plant life, some animal life, and learn about some history. So I think those are the two things that come to mind immediately for where we're located in Southern California,
Oh yeah,
beaches and botanic gardens.
absolutely. So how does that look too for a daily basis? I mean, y'all might have more springtime weather year round, but
Hmm.
Colorado has the most beautiful skies. Like we're sunshine over 300 days a week or 300 days a year. I can edit that out. Sunshine 300 days a year. So is that something that plays into it when dealing with a little guy more? Because I mean, as an older person, like basically over the age of 7, if it's cloudy outside, it's like, who cares? But my first like dad instinct is, oh geez, if it's all overcast right now, then we're gonna have to really make sure that the little guy stays warm and dry him off frequently and stuff like that. So is
Yes.
there more to going for those kind of planning days than just a regular summer day?
Is there more to go in the planning days of a cloudy day or a rainy day?
Yeah, for a cloudy
I,
day. Yep. For
I
the
mean,
little guys.
yeah, to be honest, haven't had enough experiences in
Okay.
his 3 short months. With that being said, the time of day in which we get him prepped and ready for the day will determine how layered he is or isn't.
Yep.
But again, that's time of day versus climate per se in his 3 short months here on this earth.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's fair. I always forget how young Diego is. I mean, he's doing tummy time. That's
right.
a big developmental step. And If I had said that 5 years ago, I would have thought myself an ass.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. With like, wow, tummy time, and they can
Yep.
keep their head up and they don't just slowly nuzzle the ground
Yeah.
to death.
Yep.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Flip that question on you. With you having a 4-year-old and 1.5-year-old, how about yourself?
Yeah, with the 4-year-old and 1.5-year-old, it definitely goes right to integrating them into the stuff that I already like doing. So a lot of people, I think, have that view of you have a kid, which means you now have to give a lot up, which is true if you're someone that doesn't like to have a lot of people around you. I guess that's true. And you can say, oh, yeah, you get rid of, your friends and stuff like that. But in my viewpoint, it's you just bring them along with the stuff that you already enjoy doing. And sure, it might be a few extra steps, but let's do that. So, baseball season starting up. Rockies, a horrible team. I think it's their number 30 or 31, 32 out of the 32. So, it's a bad team. You never go and watch the Rockies to watch the Rockies play. You go
Yeah,
to
but you got
watch.
Chris Bryant now.
Phew, this is not a baseball podcast. I don't think we want to hear that ranting and rambling of why that was an awful decision. And then yeah, you have Randall Grichuk. It's like, okay, yeah, name me the team that he just got traded from. Rockies fans being excited for Randall Grichuk. It's this organization is ran by clowns. So yeah, but you go there and you're very happy to watch whatever team is gracing
Comes out on the
Coors Field. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Rockies.
It's the experience. It's the experience.
Yeah. For the other team, you're like, I'm from like whenever the Mets come into town, because they're an NL team, so
Yep.
they come to town at least once a year. You see a lot more New Yorkers than you do Coloradans in the stand, and it's like, well, yeah, our team sucks. At least your team has a chance at something. So, yeah, that's one of the bigger things. Then I'm sure we're gonna go do some slip and slide fun, which is just the worst thing in hindsight. You're like, have you ever been on a slip and slide, Nick?
100%.
Okay. When was the last time you saw a slip and slide and was like, ooh boy, that looks like the most fun thing ever?
Not recent enough.
No one does slip and slide because it's an awful contraption. It's a thin sheet of plastic that's poorly lubricated with the water. Water does an awful job and doesn't stick to it.
Slip, then slide.
Yeah, you're not slipping nor sliding. You are slowly grinding down a small plastic sheet that is now making you wet and cold at the same time.
Which is why you then have Waterworld in Denver.
Yeah. You pony up the dollars.
Thicker piece of plastic.
100% thicker piece of plastic. We have a dinosaur ride.
You just have to pay a little bit to get into that one.
Thicker piece of plastic, dinosaur ride, and a lot of people just pee in anything that is standing water or deeper. So
okay,
yeah, 100%, way better than a slip and slide. Goodness, just don't do slip and slides. For any parents out there, just don't do slip and slides.
So what else then are alternatives?
Literally a sprinkler is better. A water balloon fight.
Okay.
You get the hose and you just chase them around. I'm all for lazy dadding, where it's, red light, green light. Amazing. Red light, you stand in one space. The kids run back and forth trying to beat you. And it's whatever makes life easier for you as the parent, but also wears out your kids is a win-win in my book. So hot day, get a nice spray nozzle and you're playing water tag with them.
Yep.
Where they just try to dodge you, but you don't have to move. You can have a nice cold beer and you don't have to take a shower afterwards. That's I guess that's my biggest thing. I hate taking showers after going to like water.
And then when your day is done, you turn on Ice Cube's Today Was a Good Day.
Yeah. And it read Ice Cube's a pimp on the Goodyear blimp.
Something like that.
I'm way too white to be quoting Ice Cube lyrics. Yeah. But no, yeah. So that's the fun stuff. That I'm
what other outdoor things does Denver have to offer for younger ones?
that Denver has to offer. There's a million and one things. So one, we have tons of parks.
Yep.
Colorado is very deep seated, outdoorsy people. We were a bunch of hippies before most of Southern California started moving over here. So we were a bunch of hippies, and then Texas and California just invaded. So very big with a lot of walking trails, tons of hiking trails that are very close by. And then also the super fun things. And this is one that, I mean, whether you're in Boise, Idaho, they have the Idaho River that goes right through downtown Boise, to Golden over here, where, I mean, it's the same river that Coors makes all of its great beers with, but you can float those rivers. I think that that's definitely an older kid thing, but
Yep.
I think that is more like a 3-year-old thing and older
Okay.
versus like am I going to take my 1.5-year-old? Maybe. He's a big boy. He
Yeah.
can sit in my lap. But am I taking like an infant down some choppy waters? Probably not.
Sure.
I wouldn't recommend that. But
Yeah.
another thing that, just a classic. What do you do every summer? Well, we're going to go tubing down in Golden at least once.
Yep.
And I think anywhere that has water and that's worth living in has that same base necessity of water to float down. So
Yeah.
yeah,
California's similar in that you don't have to go too far, at least where we're located for Southern California, for hikes. Actually, speaking of hikes, starting up something this weekend, every final Sunday of the month, going with some small business owners just to do a hike. For those of us that want to connect
that's
and
fun.
do something outside, something a little bit added to your health, but then wreck it and grab some breakfast afterwards. So
Nice.
yeah,
There you go.
but there again, so we talked to a couple small business owners there, and it's like, okay, bring your significant other if you have one, bring a pet if you have one, bring your kid if you have one. So welcome to do it all or do none of it.
Yeah.
But there again, just something else that you can bring the family along, so to speak, being hikes. I think that's an easy one.
Yeah.
So
100%. And with an infant, you get to have the negotiation with the spouse of who's strapping them to the chest
right,
and taking that extra 20-pound weight up the mountain with you.
right. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Well, then let's jump right into real estate.
Mhm.
And Nick, this one goes for both of us. We both are big proponents of what we're about to talk about. So I'm going to let you lead us right into this one.
Yeah. So talking about the real estate market, the importance of the team that you surround yourself with as a prospective buyer or even seller. It's really on both sides. But let's focus on the buyer side just because things are as competitive as they are. Um, and the team you surround yourself with, what we're talking about there is the agent, the real estate agent you work with, the lender you work with. I think are the two biggest drivers when it comes to making sure you have the right people on your side, because when things are in a multi-offer scenario, a lender that is willing and able to give a call into the listing agent, to validate that their prospective buyer is good for it and give them a lowdown of, hey, this is what we're looking at for this individual, can make or break a situation, as can the real estate agent. When I know someone personally, based on prior experience, that can carry weight. And a little bit of an unknown for prospective buyers, right? To say, well, how do I know that my agent knows that person or not? Some of it's a little bit of luck. Nonetheless, point being, it matters who you work with. We're not all created equal. So just because you don't have to look far to find one and to get to know one, knowing the right one, again, can make or break things, especially in multiple offer scenarios. I'll give you a prime example. My team leader, Dina Willis, had an offer accepted recently based on relationships. And it was in a multi-offer scenario where there were, I'll leave it at that. It was a multiple offer scenario. But that's reality. You know, that again, that's not my opinion. So Jalen, what are your thoughts going into that one?
Yeah, when it comes to, and this is one of my things with my business this year, is being very intentional with who I work with. Because if you're not intentional with who you work with, especially when it comes to real estate, you're going to be burnt out. A very common thing is buyer's fatigue. You're going to wonder why you're not getting offers accepted. And that can be for a lot of reasons. And if
Yep.
no one on your team is monitoring why and what we can do to change things up and what we can do to go the extra mile and come up with creative solutions, then you're going to get to that point. You're going to say, you know what? Never mind. I don't need this house. And then you're going to be another year or two down the road, and you're going to wonder, why did I not buy back then? And
Right.
it's a very easy reason that you just didn't have the right team.
Yep.
I see it all the time. It's something that, especially with the real estate agents that I work with, we need to be in sync with. Otherwise, I'm not going to work with that real estate agent, because I need to make sure that my clients are having the best experience possible and having someone that is working above and beyond for them, instead of treating you like just a future paycheck.
Mhm.
So, the things that Nick brought up, like having a real estate agent that's well connected within the realtor community, is huge. It's my job as a lender to do very similar things, to at least have my name and company known, so that when you do go out and look, there's some sort of weight behind the offer letter. It's something that I have to harp on my people that are out there looking. Let me know when you're going to be putting an offer in, because I need to give them a call. I need to send them a video email. I need to follow up with the listing agents so that they know we're serious about this. And these are all things and extra things that you get also only when you go with a local lender.
Local but quality, right? Because
Local
not all
quality, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. But basically just stay away from the big box ones. I always say most of us, on the lender side of things, we can all close a loan. That's the
Right.
bare minimum of it. That shouldn't be where our value add or why you pick one of us.
Yep.
It should be on the value that we give to you and how we help you through this process, and make sure that you're in the right house for
Yep.
you that
Yep.
works with your budget. So yeah, that's what
So
I got.
yeah, and I to add on to that, it comes back to ask questions, talk to multiple individuals. I guess unless you really know what it is you're looking for, and that first person checks all those boxes, and you feel comfortable, you know what, I meshed well with that person. I think therein lies an exception to the rule to say, okay, maybe you don't talk to two or three. If it's just like, hey, I had a good discussion with Jalen, and he ticked all the boxes, and why look any further?
Yep.
But if that's not the case, if they ticked half the boxes that were important to you, I think go talk to someone else and see if they check more of the boxes. But
Oh,
if
yeah.
they only check two, then now you have something to compare against to say, nope, that one was better than that one for these reasons.
And check their knowledge too. So what are the turn times? How many months of inventory do we have for
Sure.
condos, townhomes, single family homes? A lot of people hear all the bad news, and a lot of that
Right.
bad news is talking about single family homes, and they don't talk about the condo and townhouse market as much,
Sure.
which is, here in Colorado in particular, is definitely healthier than
Hmm.
the single family market. And that's something that I inform people that are about to go out and look. Hey, if you're really die hard about getting that single family home, understand it's hard out there. Now, a townhouse market or a condo market is not as competitive. It's still competitive, but we have a better chance of getting our offer accepted with one of those. And so, have that conversation. What's
Right.
important? Why do we
Right.
need the backyard? Especially
Right.
if you don't have animals or something. Like, these are things that your team should be advising you on.
Right. Well, yeah. And to dig into that a little bit, one thing that I do that I know separates myself from other agents is I have a buyer consultation on the front end that'll last anywhere, depending on the situation, 30 to 45 minutes. And there's some people say, that's so long. And my response to that is, well, if you're willing to sacrifice 30 to 45 minutes on the front end, it's going to save you days, if not weeks, on the back end, because you're going to have clarity to make decisions, right? Versus the alternatives say, well, we hadn't talked about that, and now you're in a position to make a decision, but you hadn't had to think about that situation until you're in it. And now you're stressed out, you're freaking out, and you're saying that, well, if I would have known that ahead of time, then I'd have more time, right? So there again, it goes back to ask questions. What makes you a little bit different? And if an agent or lender out there does want to put in time on the front end, um, understand why, because it's not always just a waste of time. Um, I think that's where the good ones are able to help you as a prospective buyer, understand what is it you're looking for? Because I think a lot of people just say a house. Okay, but
Yeah.
what are your preferences within that? What are you willing to give up
Yep.
if there's a mismatch in price? And if you can't make those clear decisions outside of a stressful situation, you're definitely not making clear decisions in a stressful situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. A good advisor, just like with anything, are getting down to the whys for you and playing to those whys and making sure those whys become reality. So if it's, I want to be in this neighborhood, why? Because of my kids.
Yep.
Great. So maybe we can, you know, in a crazy market like this, maybe we can look at a townhome instead of a single family home. And in a few years, we can transition so that Johnny's in the same school system the whole time. Whatever your why is what should really be boiling down. And maybe that's something that you also, I mean, it should be something that you also go into this with, is what are your big, hairy, audacious goals and their whys behind them for this home?
Yep.
So,
And then the last thing that I can think of right now on this one is it can be a big frustration for those that miss out on multiple houses or offers in general, whether it's condo, townhome, or home. That understandably can be disappointing. With that said, don't let that be the sole reason why you would move away from your agent, right? And I say that based on the fact that there are different reasons. There, especially in this competitive market, there's a lot of people that have that flexibility to not need an appraisal. They can just say, I'm going to put X on it because I have the money to do it. And if that's comes in $50,000 over what it appraises for, I got that, right? Jalen and I cannot, like, there's nothing to combat that. Like, it is what it is, unfortunately. So that's through no fault of an agent. So understand why and ask those questions when you do miss out. Hey, do you know what the determining factor was? Because there are some things that are within my control, and regardless, I think a good agent is able to explain that. Your team is able to explain why you weren't able to get into something, to say, here's what we missed, and we just can't do anything about it when it comes to that. Versus if someone isn't willing and able to explain why, I think then it does become a red flag.
yeah. Yep. There's a lot of those people out there that will pull numbers on agents and be like, how many 5-star reviews do you have and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of agents that have really great reviews that don't go that extra mile. And I've seen some people that are newer to the company or newer to the field that haven't had the opportunity to get those 5-star reviews. But
Sure.
boy, are they going to make sure that they get a 5-star review every single time. They're going above and beyond. They want the best for their client. So,
Right.
yeah, I think it's definitely two different things. And I think that two different things when looking at mortgage versus realtor.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, you really need to be viewing this as, do I want this person to advise me?
Yep.
First and foremost, and any good one is going to be doing that exact thing. That's going to be their main goal. So don't stay away from transactional people, please.
Yes. Yes.
If every
And
time
then
they call you, it's just about whatever they're due for their business.
Right.
Like, even if that was your grandmother, you'd be like, Grandma,
Come
I
on.
don't care. Like,
Yeah.
you call me every month about, whatever, about quilting. Grandma.
Yep.
I don't care. So same thing. That's, you're not going to take advice from grandma at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Nick, anything else to add before we finish up and go right into the business bookend?
Nada.
All right.
So yeah, let's segue into that, because this is a fun one to me, that this business bookend topic, and it is on grit. And couple things that I pulled from that. It's the best indicator of success is not IQ, social intelligence, or even good looks. It's grit. And another thing that I pulled is enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare. So those are two pieces that have always stuck with me since I got a hold of that book. So Jalen, have a question for you though, from when it comes to grit. Thoughts on how you develop it? Because I think everybody would agree it's necessary and it's a great quality and trait to have. But how do you build it?
Yeah. So is super strength, right? So is so are adults that just don't quit, but you don't see all of us in the gym just shredding it on what we'll do lateral raises. That will build
Yeah.
your delt. Yeah, so I think it also comes with the mindset of wanting to get better, which we've
Okay.
talked about previously. So the understanding that you have a area that you can continue to improve on is the first thing. It's like, I'm not familiar with the 12 steps by any means, but I'm pretty sure that the first one is understanding that you're flawed. Somewhere in there, there's understanding you're flawed. I should look it up. But yeah, so the first thing is you have to understand that you actually have a problem. The second thing is coming up with a game plan to actually fix the problem.
Okay.
And then the last one, and this is where a lot of people fall off, is enacting that system. And that's where a lot of great books and gurus and people saying, oh, I just do this a day, or I do this every day and I'm seeing amazing results from it. Yeah, if you do that every day, you're going to see great results from it. So let's say doing those shoulder lifts, those lateral raises every single day. Yeah, your delts are going to get bigger. The hard part isn't in those first two things. The hard part isn't finding out what your problem is.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty easy. You can ask a good friend and they'll tell you what your problem is.
Yeah.
If they're a good friend. Second part, yeah, you can find whatever guru, self-help, whatever online that'll tell you how to fix your problem. Again,
Yep.
not the hard part. The hard part is actually enacting it, one,
Yep.
and then continuing to do it,
Sure.
two. So that's where the biggest aspect of grit is coming to the understanding that I need to do this in order to get to a desired goal.
Mm-hmm.
Is definitely the hardest part of the whole thing. And I think the only way you do it is just like everything else. You put yourself in the hard situations that forces you to then actually enact on the problem.
Yep.
And just go through it. That's it. It's
Yeah.
simple, but not easy.
Right. Right. It is simple and not easy. And to elaborate on that, where my head goes with that is you need setbacks. I think too many people are afraid to, whether it be failing, having a setback, whatever, and they say, well, I never want to experience that. Well, then how do you develop that grittiness? I would say grit, a different term or way to think about it, is your ability to respond to something, your ability to stick with something. And you essentially said that in a little bit different way. But I'll say it a little bit different way. I think that's what it is. It's your ability to bounce back from something, or be able to balance multiple things at one time. So in this book, Angela Duckworth goes into the idea of how long-term, not just short-term, but how over a long period of time, kids that did a sport, held a part-time job, and did school all simultaneous were able to sustain a better balanced lifestyle in the long run versus the student that didn't have to worry about having any part-time job, didn't play a sport, and only had to focus on school. So
Yeah.
not to say there's any right or wrong. It's just a little bit different experience.
So on
And
that
so,
note too, so what was your experience with that, Nick? When going to high school, for instance,
yep.
were you just going to high school or were there
No.
other things? Okay.
Yeah. So
Break that down for us.
my personal experience was I had a part-time job since I was 16, while I went to high school, while I played soccer. And I only played soccer. I wasn't a multi-sport athlete. Did extracurriculars. I was a part of like newspapers. So that took time beyond school, just normal school hours, to have a role within that. So there were multiple pieces that you've had to figure out, how do I balance my time, right?
Yeah.
Versus solely focusing on school, which I think is a good thing. Hey,
Yep.
you have to get good grades. Yes, you do. But what's beyond school?
Yeah.
Life.
100%.
And your ability to balance multiple things, because as you and I are experiencing, you now have a kid or kids, you have a wife, you have a job, you want fun time. And if you can't manage time, you're naturally going to struggle. And in my opinion, I don't think it's a terrible thing to expect kids to work some while they go to school, but I'm also speaking from personal experience. Um, I think some people that haven't gone or some people that went through it feel like I need to make it easier for my kid because I
Yeah.
don't want them to have to. So I think unfortunately
Yep.
some of that gets done unintentionally. I think I'm helping Jalen by saying, Jalen, you don't have to.
Yep.
And that long term plays, but I didn't challenge him to. Thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. Portion of that can be really in anything. Are you going to force them to enforce is the not nice word that people like to, when you're talking as a parent or as someone that that this is in their best interest.
Hmm.
Force is always kind of a dirty word there.
Sure.
But are you going to force them to finish out that sports
Right.
season? Are you going to force them to sit down and do an hour of homework? I think ultimately it comes down to we start viewing things, and I don't know at what point, but we start viewing some things as optional and like, well, this person they'll still live at the end of the day. And it's when you hit that point that's kind of where the grit falls off too. You're setting someone up just to be bare bones sliding by, and that's it. So,
Or focusing to be really good at one thing or succeed at one thing. And again,
100%.
it's unfortunately just one thing.
Yeah, 100%. It's one thing. I mean, let's go full circle and just talk about being a dad for a second.
Yep.
Do you force your kid? Nick and I were joking around beforehand with my son has a little bit of a flat spot because we did not force him to do tummy time regularly.
Yep.
We did
Yep.
we did tummy time, but then he would get very upset with us, and so we wanted to appease, and so we'd roll him back over after a little bit, and so we never really forced him to have that. Okay, well, everyone goes, well, you should have made him, you should have forced him to do tummy time. That's if you're a good parent, you'll force him. Okay, so the next thing, eating vegetables. Yeah, you got to force your kid to eat vegetables. Not being on the screen. Again, going full circle. Yep, you got to force them to not be on the screen. Okay, force them to do homework. Yeah, should absolutely force them to do homework. Okay, should they have a job while in school? Well, now I don't want to really burden them too much.
Right.
Make them a better person if they are having to balance both things.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I did it myself, or I knew someone that did it, and they been very beneficial. Okay, so then, when it comes to grit, especially as a parent, and really all of us, but when you're responsible for someone else's well-being, there's a different kind of responsibility there. Should you then force them to do something that is in their best interest?
Well, and here's how it was presented to me growing up is, look, Nick, we can help you out with X. And if you need money beyond that, that's on you. And I do not look back on that and be like, wow, they were jerks for just helping me out with $20 for lunch throughout the week. They said, that's what we'll help you with.
Yep.
If you need money beyond that, that's on you. And that was that. It was never, you have to work. I just made the decision, well, I want more money for myself, so I'm choosing to work. And then it forced me to figure out how do I manage my time between doing a sport, doing school, and working. And again, in hindsight, I personally would have it no other way because it exposed me to, again, time management starting at 16.
Yeah.
And
Nick,
figure
when do you
out
wake
when
up
my-
every day? When do you
Huh?
when do you wake up every day?
6-ish.
Goodness. Yeah, so that's the difference between having to balance three things in life at 16 versus when you're 22, like myself, and having a kid, and then being like, yeah, F that. I want to sleep in until 7 at least, and hit that snooze button a few times most days, especially if I don't have anywhere that I need to be exactly at 8. So it's like that alone. I mean, we're two perfect examples of, maybe having a little bit more balance and a little bit more ability to be forced to finish out like a sports season. That's this guy. I did have a part-time job all through my senior, and so about the same time, 16.
Okay.
But at the same time, didn't do sports at that last year of school. Still did curricular activities, but also my parents didn't force me to continue with those. I could end it in the middle of the season. I could stop going next year, so these are all things that I think also, and going completely back to grit, these are the building blocks that build that determination and that I need to just continue to go because that's the way that I function, that you don't get unless someone else forces it on you. I mean,
right.
like,
And one final thought from me on the script part is it's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to present it to our kids as they're growing up. I think it's another thing to then embody that and lead through example. Because I think
That's
there's a lot of
truth.
parents that love to give the advice and don't follow through with their own advice. It's like, oh, I can give you all the advice all day long, Jay.
Oh
But then when
yeah.
it comes to myself, my work-life balance might be garbage. But I can tell you how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk with some of the new people in the office all the time, and I'll be like, "Oh, this is a cool idea, or this is what you should be doing." And then I'm like, "Have I been doing that lately?" And then same with like, I mean, dad bod. It's like, "Oh, I know how to train." Like, uh, I mean, I can get a 6-pack. I know what I need to eat. I know how much I need to work. That might be the reason why I'm like, just giving up on the 6-pack idea. It's
Yeah,
like, do I want to eat this and work out that much in order to get that?
right.
But at the same time, even if it's just a health goal or a work related goal, I think those are the two big ones. And then family related is of course even bigger than that. Um, but those two big ones that more than anything people will struggle with, I think it comes down to almost being afraid of knowing how much work is going
And
to
sacrifice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that sacrifice usually equates to you really have to start rethinking your priorities, because I'm in that same spot now too, of like, okay, I'll have to give up an hour and a half or 2 hours of sleep, but then I accomplish something else.
Sure.
And that's where that grit is also kind of that maturity of, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice a luxury
Right.
for something that I know will actually make me a better person.
Yeah. Well, and here's kind of a funny meme I came across, but it pertained to business, but I'll just use it as grit. Like in our health, it's hard to be in shape. It's also hard to be out of shape, meaning you don't get to do as much because you're not in shape, and that's hard. So choose your hard. And
Yeah.
I think you could put that spin on words virtually on anything. Um, but it's hard to be gritty. It's hard to sacrifice the things, but it's also hard on the flip side when you choose not to. You can't do as much, and you're not as productive, and you're not as fill in the blank.
Yep. 100%. And that makes, yeah, I mean, it's rough. Yeah. When you start chasing a 4-year-old around, it's very hard. Like, so Emerson, my 4-year-old, is the cutest kid in the world. Like, I love him. He's a good looking kid. I'd be honest if he was ugly. I'd be like, my kid's a little ugly. He's not. He's cute. He's actually at this time probably in a little gi doing jujitsu right now, which it was the
Nice.
cutest thing ever last week. I was like,
Yeah.
I might die. This is amazing. He's very cute. But anyway, back to cuteness. When a cute little 4-year-old asks you to go down the slide with him, or he goes down the slide first and then he's like screaming very happy and wants to watch you do it now, and he goes like,
Yeah.
your turn, your turn. Very hard to be like, no.
Yeah.
And it would be devastating just to, just personally, me, if I had to say, like, I literally can't
Sure.
because I, didn't take care of my body at some point in the future. And that's any type of, whether it's smoking, eating,
Yep.
being drunk all the time,
Right.
giving into whatever other vice. To say no to that
Yep.
is a very big why of why it's like, yeah, it's something that I can never get to because I want to be there for him. So,
Yep.
have a little bit of that forethought too with that grittiness and kind of use that as a fuel to be like, well, today's going to suck,
Yep.
but you know what? It's going to suck less if I look back at me not doing this and then
Yep.
realizing, I could have just done it. Have you
Yep.
ever had that, Nick, with working out? Working out is like the best example where it's just like, I stopped like 5 reps early, but I was just toasted. And then you're like
Right.
back at home and you're like, I could have done those 5 reps.
Right. For sure. I can relate to that. And I can also relate more so to the reason why I want to stay in shape is because today's the youngest version you and I are ever going to be, as well as everybody ever again. So you only get older. And I want to be able to run around with Diego, and assuming we have other siblings of his running around too. I want to be able to enjoy that versus sit back in a chair and be like, I can't, or no, not this time. And this time becomes every time.
Yeah.
So
That's also
that part
hard.
scares me more. That part
Yeah.
scares me more.
I don't doubt it. I feel that. I feel that. That's yeah, there's times where they're like, come on, let's get up and let's jump and do something. You're just like, buddy, I'm destroyed right now. Like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
not. But can Dad take like 5 minutes, and I promise you we will do something amazing tomorrow.
Right.
There's a lot of those negotiations during the week, and then I really have to live up to it on the weekend, or else I'm
Sure.
screwed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But comes back to us being gritty and leading by example. Nonetheless, if for those of you that have not read Grit and enjoy reading, or again, technology has opened the door for you for audiobooks, highly recommended. Angela Duckworth's Grit, brilliant read. Opens up your mind to look at not multitasking, definitely not. That's a bad thought, but being able to balance multiple things simultaneously, and it's not a bad thing, especially as a teenager, especially in college years, because it's setting them up for the future and what reality is.
Yep. Perfect. I think that's a good soundbite to leave off on. So, Nick, thank you again for one more week.
Yep.
And I'll see you again next week for one more week.
Deal. Sounds like a plan. To all of you who listen, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you listen. Want to see, hear, or listen to more of Nick's take on California real estate market? Check out my links below.
Also, check out the links below for more information on products, books, or references made in this podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.